Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Here in this video, we are going to be going over everything that happened today in AMC stock as well as our broad markets, but specifically take a focus on what's going to be happening tomorrow. And what's happening tomorrow, two major events. You have the ARM SoftBank lockup expiration. I'll explain why that's a major event. And you have CPI, which is clearly a major event. And yeah, what we're seeing today, not exactly a great indication for the bulls out there. And we'll talk about that as well here in this video. So the work is cut out for us in this one. Hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching, and let's get started. So first and foremost, kind of like I said in the last video, AMC stock was green today. Fantastic for AMC specifically, especially when the Russell 2000 was really the index that did not do as well today. Couple things that stand out to me there. AMC can act independent than the Russell or even the broader markets. Doesn't happen all the time, but it can happen. Remember that. But also the Russell underperforming the way in which it did would be exactly what you would expect from a hotter than expected CPI report. And maybe that's an indication of, a bad CPI report to come, or maybe it's just kind of pre-CPI jitters, if you will. The Russell down about 0.5%, the Nasdaq down about 0.3%, S&P down 0.2%, and the Dow is pretty much break even on the day. Now the VIX is up 4.5%. So there was a decent amount of hedging activity, presumably for tomorrow in the markets today in the S&P 500. So a little bit of risk getting priced into the markets, in which you really haven't seen that in a while, with the VIX being under 20 for a very long time. I remember back in 2022 when the VIX was kind of just sporadic crazy. Anytime the VIX would get down to 20, that would be a good buying opportunity, right? Under 20 was that didn't happen all too often in 2022. But anytime it got down to 20, you bought something. Anytime that it got to 30, excuse me, I said that backwards. Anytime it got to 30, the VIX spiked, you would buy something, right? Anytime the VIX got down to 20, you would sell something, because when the VIX goes down, less hedging activity, presumably a stronger market, a better market at that point. Well, now the VIX is at 15 and it's been under 20 for a long time. So you haven't seen a lot of volatility, not a lot of desire to get downside put protection. This, if any week, is the week that will change. Just a quick backstory. On Friday, you did have NVIDIA really falling. Now, NVIDIA today is down 1% again, so NVIDIA is falling yet again. But the big catalyst really tomorrow is going to be ARM for your AI stocks, your semiconductors, because ARM's lockup expiration is tomorrow. SoftBank owns about 90.5% of all of the shares of ARM outstanding. That's a lot. Okay, there's only 94 million shares trading hands today, and SoftBank owns 929 million shares. They haven't been able to sell. They've tried to sell ARM plenty of times in the past. So tomorrow they're going to have the opportunity to actually sell ARM, and they're likely going to sell a lot of shares. And that's probably why ARM is down 3% today. That's probably a reason why semiconductors did poorly on Friday, and tomorrow is the real test. If SoftBank does sell a lot of ARM stock's going to fall, and then what's going to happen? The algorithms are also going to sell off your other semiconductor AI related stocks as well. So I think that's a big catalyst for semis and AI related names. Now, when NVIDIA and these other semi names have driven up the markets so much recently, that can also become a larger problem for the broader markets. Now, at the same time, that could be good for, small and mid-cap stocks. If some of the air goes out of the AI bubble, if you will, maybe that means some money goes into other areas of the markets, and that is also something to consider. Now, a lot of people are not even thinking about the ARM lockup expiration tomorrow, and I'm here to say that can and likely will be a big catalyst. I think a downside catalyst, but it's always possible that ARM goes higher tomorrow in a weird world. I don't think that's likely. I think there's like a 5% chance that ARM really makes a considerable move higher. And probably a 95% chance ARM falls like a rock tomorrow. Now, you do have CPI coming out tomorrow morning. So core inflation month over month, that's the number a lot of people pay attention to. Okay, so last month you came in at 0.4%. A lot of people just said that's your first of the year kind of price increases. Okay, people kind of chalked it up to this was a one-off CPI report for January. If February comes in at 0.4 or higher, that's a problem. Okay, the expectation is 0.3%. So if you come in at 0.3%, that's good. That's okay. That's not good. That's not fantastic. If you come in lower than that, that's really good news. And I would expect a large outperformance from the small and mid cap stocks. 0.3%, it's really hard to say which way the markets would take that. 0.4% or higher, that's definitely going to be bad news. Now, year over year CPI, last month came in at 3.9%. You're expecting 3.7% this for the month of February. Month over month headline came in at 0.3% last month. You're actually expecting this to go to 0.4% this month. That could also be a troublesome area of this report if your headline CPI does accelerate. That is a lot of the time what the algorithms pick up on, right? And especially your year over year headline. Year over year headline is expected to be at about 3.1%. That was the same as last month. So headline CPI not expected to get better at all. Core is expected to get a little bit better on your month over month and on your year over year. So if that happens, fantastic. If not, yeah, you're gonna have a bit of a problem. Tomorrow at noon, you're also going to get a 10-year bond auction. These 10-year bond auctions have had the tendency to move the markets quite a bit as well. So that's also something that I'll be watching and paying attention to coming tomorrow. Now, AMC Stock over here on StockTwits has a neutral sentiment at 54. Yesterday it was at 56. Message volume is at 44. Yesterday it was at 40, and the participation ratio is at 56 today. Yesterday it was at 55. So all things look pretty good for AMC. You know, heading into these big catalysts tomorrow, that's actually surprising. Now, my expectations for CPI, honestly, I think this is probably pretty accurate. I don't think I would deviate from these estimates all too much. I really don't think you're going to have a big outlier here. If anything, headline CPI could go up at least a little bit. Gas has been going up quite a bit, maybe a little bit more than expected, but that's not going to be my base case. You know, core CPI, could it come in at 0.4% again? Sure. I don't think it's a fair assumption to say January CPI was super high because of, you know, one-time price increases. Some companies may wait till February to do those price increases, right? Instead of shocking people right after they get done with Christmas and raising prices. Some companies opt for February to start raising prices. So I don't know if you can say that last month's CPI gain on your core was just seasonally affected. Maybe that turns out to be the case, but if not, that's going to be a bit of a problem. So I'm not that optimistic heading into tomorrow's CPI report. I don't think you're going to get a big surprise, a big bullish surprise to the downside. If anything, there's a potential for an upside surprise in CPI if I were to put, you know, my statistics hat on. So that is definitely a little bit of a problem. Now, the ARM SoftBank lockup expiration, I think that could also be a big problem, again, for your AI stocks that have really carried the momentum in this market to send stocks higher in recent months. If that momentum gives way, you're going to have a big problem. And it's trying to hold on today. Like let's be honest, Nvidia's only down 0.89%. I thought you could be down a lot more on Nvidia. Some people were expecting a big gap down today. That did not happen. And I think there's a lot of people just waiting in anticipation of tomorrow and the ARM lockup expiration. And I think that will give us a larger move for NVIDIA, for ARM, for Intel, SMCI, Broadcom, Marvell, Dell nowadays, for all of these semiconductor AI related stocks. Now, again, AMC stock is up 2.5% today, doing fantastic. And there's really no rhyme or reason for this. Besides the Oscars over this weekend and the box office, there's also a lot of films going to theaters that were talked about at the Oscars in terms of 2024 is going to be a lot better than 2023 was. Just the amount of movies going to theaters. So I think that may have markets a little bit more optimistic about AMC today, but does this last? I think is the real question, and I can't say for certain that this green that we've seen lately with AMC is going to last. It depends what Adam Aaron does. If we get dilution, it depends on CPI. It depends on the ARM lockup period, how all of these different events go over in the markets. Now, the percent of stocks today above their 50-day moving average is up 1.02%. to 57.87%. So that looks pretty good there, but still you're way off of your high at about 86%. But again, if CPI does come in better than expected, I would think you would see a large rally in your interest rate sensitive names, your small and your mid cap stocks. So there is that. Remember, I don't know, I can't stop yawning. Stock of tracker data for AMC stock. Remember, there's a lot of option activity this week as well. And there's a lot of potential for volatility. You do have calls in the money at about 4,700, calls out the money 264,000, puts in the money at about 33,000, and puts out the money at about 111,000. Now, if we take a specific look at the options chain for AMC this week, let's see, we got to pull up AMC. For this week, you do have a ton of option activity. So at the 450 call, about 15,000 for open interest. Again, keep in mind, like 10,000 for open interest is equivalent to market makers having to buy 1 million shares. 20,000 for open interest is 2 million shares. So at the 450 call, that's equivalent to about 1.5 million shares market makers would have to buy. 24,000 for open interest at the $5 call. 2.4 million shares market makers would have to buy. At the 550 call, about 8,000. That's about 800,000 shares market makers would have to buy. And at the $6 call, you have 24,000 for open interest. So that could be another 2.4 million shares market makers would need to buy. Really what could end up happening here is if things do come in better than expected tomorrow and you do get a rally in AMC and other interest rate sensitive small and mid cap stocks. Well, if you start to break above 450, you could get a lot of gas to $5 per share. If you break above that, that could send you pretty quickly to about $6 per share. I would not rule out a large rally this week in AMC stock. Would I count on that? Obviously not. That's always going to be a bad bet if you're counting on anything when it comes to AMC earnings. Adam Aaron, you just never know. Very unpredictable stock, very unpredictable people that run AMC's management. But there's definitely a lot of positioning here for this week on the options chain, and it really makes you wonder, does someone know something? Is AMC stock going to go higher this week? Something's going to happen, and that's just kind of my opinion on that. If you take a look at TLT is positive today. That does mean long duration yields are coming down at least a little bit. The dollar has recently been falling. Gosh, I need to take a nap or something. The dollar is down about a tenth of one. Up about a tenth of 1% today. Anytime the dollar is up, that's not great. Dollar down, that is good. Gold is up 0.15%. Gold had a really good day on Friday. Gold's had a lot of really good days recently, ever since February 20, the start of March 3rd. Gold has went from 188, 189 to about 202 where it is today. Really makes you wonder if someone somewhere is kind of worried out there. Putting their money into gold is a strange move when stocks are hitting all-time highs and Bitcoin is doing what it's doing. I mean, gold doesn't very often get above 70 on the RSI, and gold today is at 83 on the RSI. This could be forecasting maybe some weakness to come here in the markets. Really doesn't make sense. Gold does not typically move like this. And if you consider even, back from November, gold is up 20%. That's a super strange move. On Friday, you did see gold start to rally as the markets were falling as well. And you could see that very clearly right here. And that's typically not a good sign as well, as it is a sign that money is going out of markets and going into safety assets, safe haven assets like gold. So another thing that's kind of problematic. Now, on the downside, if things go wrong this week, you're targeting about $4 per share for AMC. That would be the level that I would be watching. So that is going to do it for this video. Hit that like button as well as subscribe to the channel. Let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.